Good morning. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church West on this Mother's Day here in Brookfield, Wisconsin. The best place to be on Sunday morning, in person or with us online. It's great to be together. We offer gratitude for the privilege of living on this land here, which we call Wisconsin. It was called other names in the past and was inhabited by indigenous people. The European settlers took the land for their own through force or trickery or governmental power. It's upon us to hold up the true history of this land and share the stories of the Ho-Chunk, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Menominee, Peoria, and Miami nations. As a welcoming congregation to gay, lesbian, transgendered, bisexual, and queer plus peoples, we continue to address ongoing homophobia, violence, and unfair legislation that targets them. As an anti-racist faith community, we also acknowledge that racism throughout our society continues to lead to violent deaths and oppression. May we engage in the struggle to diminish racism in our own hearts, in our community, and in our world. My name is Larry Hawley, and I serve on your board of trustees. My pronouns are he and him. Whoever you are, and from wherever you come, whomever you love, and however you define family, you are welcome here. The identities you hold, how you want to be called, and your pronouns are respected and welcomed here. Whatever the color of your skin, the language of your grandparents spoke, the cultures that live in your being, the abilities and disabilities you hold, we welcome you. We unite in UU principles. We are a community of communities, spiritual seekers, taking action called on by our work for justice, united in covenant and the spirit of love. We welcome all of you. Now for a little bit of Sunday logistics. Newcomers, we request that you fill out the welcome side of the yellow form in your order of service and bring it to the newcomers table in the community room. If you are new online, please email us at visitor@uucw.org. Children and parents, the nursery is open, and for religious education age children, after the Story for All Ages, you are invited to go to your individual programs or remain here. During the service, you can always keep busy and play at the worship exploration table. The high school youth group will not meet today, but I requested to make your mom a cup of tea and talk with your mom for 3 sessions of 38 minutes each. This will make your mom very, very happy. I have a few announcements I'd like to highlight. Next Sunday is our transition service, and we'll be celebrating everything from child dedications to new member welcome and to coming of age. You won't want to miss it. For those of you leading teams or committees, note that annual reports are due to Kelly Bognar by Friday, May 17th. Finally, we in leadership ask for a lot of things. Let me instead give thanks for what we have received. The campus team expresses, and our whole community expresses, a sincere thank you to the 20-plus individuals who came out last weekend for our spring cleanup. With all of that now shared and received, let's settle in for this time that we've set aside to be here together. Center yourself and welcome the Spirit.
Our theme for the month of May is pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Let us welcome pluralism. Welcome pluralism. Let us open our arms and our hearts to both our differences and our commonalities. Let us dig down deep to find the curiosity we need to encounter and explore other ways of being with open minds. In our search for truth and meaning, together and individually, let us unearth new understandings and practices. And when we come across beliefs or philosophies that contradict what we currently think to be true, Let us learn to relax into peaceful coexistence. Let us create a space where all people of goodwill are welcome. Let this spiritual home be one of acceptance and affirmation of the inherent worth of all. For we know that there is a love that embraces all, a peace that surpasses all understanding, and a longing for the oneness that brings us together in interdependence and mutuality. Welcome, pluralism. And welcome to this time of worship where we strive to embrace our differences and our commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. And let's begin by lighting our chalice.
When Unitarian Universalists gather, we light a chalice, a flame and an open cup. Our spiritual ancestors have done this for generations in a ritual lighting that lifts up the fiery center of this faith, the warmth of community and the open space for whatever is to come. If you're joining us online, you might contribute to our communal fire by creating a light there in whatever way you are able. Our chalice lighting words were written for Mother's Day by Claudine Olivia. I invite you to read them with me. We light this chalice for mothers and mothering, to celebrate those who have taken on the task of nurturing a young one, baby, child, or youth into adulthood, to celebrate those who have nourished the light of truth and compassion in growing minds and hearts, to celebrate those who have committed time, money, energy to the growth of others in this world. We light this chalice to celebrate and hold dear this flame of love. With these words celebrating mothers and all kinds of motherings, we light our chalice.
Oh, it's my turn, not Dave's. Here, I'm looking at him to do something, and it was all about me. We're going to sing. We celebrate the web of life. It's number 175 in our hymnal. It's a beautiful acknowledgement of the diversity within and among us. So please rise in body and or spirit to sing.
Its magnitude we sing, for we can see divinity in every living thing. A fragment of the perfect whole in cactus and in quail, as much in tiny barnacle as in the great blue whale. Of ancient dreams we are the sum, our bones link stone to star, and bind our future worlds to come with worlds that were and are. Respect the water, land, and air which gave all creatures birth. Protect the lives of all that share the glory of the earth.
Good morning. My name is Dave Cicero. I'm Director of Lifespan Religious Education here at Unitarian Universalist Church West, and my pronouns are he and him. We do have space up front if anybody wants to sit on a blanket or a pillow to get a closer look at the pictures today of today's story. So as we celebrate pluralism, that's about honoring the fact that we come from many places. We have many cultures among us. Our story today, the book I'll be reading is called I Am You. And it is from the African tradition, South African most specifically. And I'm just going to read the publisher's note in the beginning. It says, Ubuntu means I am because you are. The word Ubuntu comes from the Nguni languages of isiZulu and isiXhosa and embodies the idea that a person is a person through other people. It is a concept of shared humanity, compassion, and openness. Oneness as well, that's what I should have said. Humanity, shared compassion, humanity, and oneness. This ancient philosophy is part of many African cultures, including South Africa, where this book was first published. So this book was written by Refilo Maololi and illustrated by Zenelda McDonald. When I look into your eyes, I see myself. I am you. When I look into your eyes, I see your heart. I embrace you. I love you. And because I love you, I love myself too. When I smile as our eyes meet, when I hug you as I say hello, when I share what little I have with you, and when I walk home with you after school, I love you, and I love myself too. When I listen as you tell me your stories, when I dance as I see you dance, when I laugh as I hear you laugh, when I hold your hands as you cry, I love you and I love myself too. We may look different, you and I, sound different, act different, eat different food, and live in different places. But our hearts beat the same. I am you. To hurt you is to hurt myself. To tease you is to tease myself. To ignore you is to ignore myself. I am you. To care for you is to care for myself. To be gentle with you is to be gentle with myself. And to be kind to you is to be kind to myself. I am you, and you are me. I am because we are one. I just forgot to thank Amazon Crossing Kids for permission to read this today as well. And Maya has agreed to lead the children and youth going to their religious education classes with the Ari lantern. So you can go light it, Maya. And while she's doing that, I'm going to ask everyone going to those religious religious education classes to come up and follow Maya out of the sanctuary, while the rest of us sing our recessional. As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go, as you go, may joy.
As you go. We just heard a story about a beautiful understanding of how we inter-are with each other, to use a phrase from Thich Nhat Hanh's. And yet, we so often live in ways that separate us by our differences, even enshrining those differences into law. This reading by Sarah Stewart tells the story about how whiteness has become a way of dividing us. You have to wait for Rev. Julie's sermon to understand the connection with this and Mother's Day. Stewart writes, "Whiteness has been used throughout the histories of America and Europe to praise desirable groups of people and exclude undesirable groups. But whiteness is not an ethnic group, a cultural group, or a nationality. In the United States, the Supreme Court legally defined what it meant to be white in a pair of decisions in 1922. In other words, whiteness was created by law to let some people in and keep others out. Soon after becoming a nation, the United States passed a law that only free white immigrants could become citizens. In 1868, the 14th Amendment to the Constitution expanded citizenship to anyone born in the United States, including African Americans, but immigrants seeking naturalized citizenship still had to prove they were white, and the court soon found themselves in the position to have to decide who was white. In 1909, the U.S. Court of Appeals in Massachusetts ruled that Armenians classified as Asiatic Turks were legally white. This led to the conclusion that other Asiatic races, such as Filipinos, Japanese, and Syrians, might also be white. In 1922, a Japanese man named Tako Ozawa petitioned for neutralized citizenship. He had spent his adult life in the U.S. In 1920, people who were not citizens could not own land, but Ozawa wanted to become a citizen and own property. Ozawa wrote his own brief and made two arguments. The first was that his skin was just as pale as the skin of white people. If pale Armenian Asiatics could be white, he argued, then he, a Japanese man, should be white. But the second argument was more profound. Ozawa argued that race shouldn't matter for citizenship. He argued that character and a commitment to the United States should be what mattered. The Supreme Court ruled unanimously against Ozawa, finding that Japanese were not white. They said their decision was scientific because to be white was to be Caucasian, not Asiatic. Then in 1923, Bhagat Singh Thind, an Indian immigrant to the United States, petitioned for citizenship as an Aryan Caucasian. He made the sound scientific argument, as science was understood then, that Aryan or Caucasian people had originated in North India, and that he was therefore both Caucasian and white. But the Supreme Court again, ruling unanimously, denied Thind's petition. This time, the court said that race is not something defined by science, but is instead something intuited by the common white man. I know, I gasped too when I read this the first time. These Supreme Court decisions were unanimous. A prominent Unitarian, William Howard Taft, was Chief Justice of the United States for both the Ozawa and Thind decision. We have to own the history of whiteness as part of our Unitarian Universalist history. America is once again facing pressure for people to align along racial lines. We do not need to do that. Resist other people's categories, share your values in conversation, in protest, in petition, in assembly. We are all kin. We do better when we work together. We need all of us, in all of our diversity, to build the world we dream of.
We need all of us in all our diversity to build the world we dream of. We need all of us. Inclusion, which is part of UUCW's mission, is a practice that takes, well, practice. It doesn't always come naturally, and in fact, we often find it inefficient and time-consuming. And yet, as the African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. If we want to go far and deep, we must go together. In order to go together, we first have to welcome and include everyone into our togetherness. And I invite you into a time of meditation, a guided meditation. As you're comfortable doing so, you might settle into a quiet and receptive position. Perhaps plant your feet on the ground, open your palms, close your eyes, or whatever position feels right to you. And breathe. Find your rootedness. Feel the earth below you, holding you. Send your roots down, down, until you can make just the right connection for this moment. Maybe you connect with water, warm stone, moist earth, the presence of other roots entwining with yours. And when you feel grounded, open your chest, your lungs, your heart. Continue to breathe. See if you can access all the loving energy in this room. And just let it flow through you. Let it enter your crown chakra and spread throughout your body, flowing downward, outward, filling up the vessel that is you with warmth and love. It's tingly, open. And then imagine yourself opening your arms wide, palms outstretched with a mothering, welcoming kind of energy. Just take a moment to receive whatever comes to you, whatever sounds you hear, whatever movements you feel. Just receive. Embrace what is around you. Let it help you open yourself to being the soul of welcome, the spirit of receptivity, love. There's no hurry, no need to rush anywhere. Just breathe. And allow yourself to sit with this warm, open, loving energy for a moment or two. Maybe this is familiar to you. Maybe it's not. Just notice how it feels in your body. Just notice as you welcome what is outside of you, that you can also welcome what comes up from within. Give yourself love, compassion. Embrace all the parts of you. Welcome it all. And when you're ready, return to this time and this space. In a moment, you'll be invited to come to this mic to make connections by sharing what's exciting or joyful or painful or worrisome in your life. What you share aloud here will only be heard by those gathered right now. It won't be included in the posted video of the service. And I'd also just like to remind you to share only your own story, unless someone has asked you to share something for them. And know that you can always also choose to share in writing, either via that yellow slip that you got on the share side, or there's a QR code on your order of service. And that'll be shared as you indicate in the e-news, with our lay pastoral care team, or with me. This morning, I'd first like to light a candle for Mother's Day. You know, if you Google the history of Mother's Day, the internet will tell you that Mother's Day began in 1908 when Anna Jarvis decided to honor her mother. But according to Heather Cox Richardson, Mother's Day, in the plural, actually started in the 1870s when the sheer enormity of the death caused by the Civil War and the Franco-Prussian War convinced writer and reformer Julia Ward Howe, who was a Unitarian, by the way, that women must take control of politics from the men who had permitted such carnage. Mother's Day was not designed to encourage people to be nice to their mothers. It was part of women's effort to gain power to change society. Now, there are many reasons to honor mothers and mothering, and as I have lit this candle, I now invite you to speak aloud the name of a mother or a mothering influence or someone who's out to change the world that you wish to acknowledge today. Please speak. We hold all of these people in our hearts today. And now, if you'd like to come to speak, you might come to either side and then take turns. If you wish to remain seated, an usher is standing ready to bring you a mic, and just raise your hand. With each sharing, I'll light a candle for you, and we'll invite you all to respond with me. We hold you in love. So come. Anything else? I guess I'll light one more candle just to, well, maybe more than one, but one to recognize all the folks online, just to say out loud as often as we can that we know you're there, we love you, we're glad you're with us, and we hold you in love. And one final candle for all the things that we hold in our hearts that remain unspoken, Sometimes it's difficult to share them. Sometimes it feels better not to share them. And yet, we know we're all carrying something, and that it's important to be held in the embrace of community. So you are all held in love. And I invite you to sing number 31, Name Unnamed. Ruben's going to play it through once, as the tune might not be familiar. And then please rise in body and or spirit to sing this song about opening to the unknown.
Name unnamed, hidden and shown, knowing and known, Gloria, beautifully moving, ceaselessly forming, growing, emerging with awesome delight, maker of rainbows, glowing with color, arching in wonder, energy flowing in darkness and light. Name unnamed, hidden and shown, knowing and known. Maria, spinner of chaos, pulling and twisting, freeing the fibers of pattern and form, weaver of stories, famed or unspoken, tangled or broken, shaping a tapestry vivid and warm. Name unnamed, hidden and shown, knowing and known, Gloria, nudging discomfort, prodding and shaking, waking our lives to creative unease, straight talking lover, checking and humbling, jargon and grumbling, speaking the truth that refreshes and frees. Name unnamed, hidden and shown, knowing and known, Gloria, midwife of changes, skillfully guiding, drawing us out through the shock of the new. Woman of wisdom, deeply perceiving, freeing and leading in all that we do. Name unnamed, hidden and shown, knowing and known, Gloria, daredevil gambler, risking and loving, giving us freedom to shatter your dreams, life-giving loser, wounded and weeping, dancing and leaping, sharing the caring that heals and redeems. Name unnamed, hidden and shown, knowing and known, Gloria.
Good morning. I'm Natalie Fleury, and my pronouns are she and her. And a little context quickly. I've been a mother since 1998, and I've been a single mother since 2007, supported through that journey by my wonderful mother, Judy, and this wonderful community. To my children, Will, who's now 25, and my daughter, Julia, who's now 22. So I just wanted to give that context because this reading sort of hits me in a number of places. So this is a reading from Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. And she is perhaps best known for her book, Wild, which was made into a movie. But she also had a plain talking, deeply loving advice column called Dear Sugar. And her responses were collected into a book called Tiny Beautiful Things. These words are extracted from her longer response to a distressed mom. Every mother has a different story, though we tend to group them together. We like to think that partnered moms have it good and single moms have it rough. But the truth is that we're a diverse bunch. Some single mothers have lots of child-free time because their kids are regularly in the custody of their fathers. Some seldom get a break. Some partnered mothers split childcare duties with their spouses in egalitarian ways. Others might as well be alone. Some mothers of both varieties have parents, siblings, and friends who play active roles in their children's lives in ways that significantly lighten the load. Others have to pay for every hour another person looks after their kids. Some mothers, singled or partnered, can't afford to pay anyone for anything. Some can and do. Others can and won't. Some are aided financially by parents, trust funds, or inheritances. Others are entirely on their own. The reality is that, regardless of the circumstances, most moms are alternately blissed out by their love for their children and utterly overwhelmed by the spectacular amount of sacrifice they require.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I think those who carry mom energy can really appreciate this proverb. You'll likely agree with me that mothering is a huge job, whether in the home, the extended family, in the community, in healthcare, wherever. We need mothering energy in our world. It's highly in demand. And when there's a task, let's say it's loading up the car to head on a camping trip, or shopping for school supplies and clothes, or maybe organizing a community meal, really any task that involves multiple steps and decisions, and which also includes both a deadline and some expectation of what success looks like, well, there are choices to be made. To do it in what we call a shared ministry style, or to do it alone. Many hands may make light work, but they often also complicate things. Perhaps you've been in such a situation in which you've decided it's just easier to do it yourself. Even when there are helping hands all around you, even if you highly value inclusion and team building, even if you are blissed out by your love for doing things together, it can be faster and easier to do it alone. And besides, if you do it alone, you can do it your own way, without compromise or having to negotiate anything. I mean, other people, they seem to have different ideas, their own ways of doing things, different aesthetics, different preferences, different internal clocks. And all of those differences just seem to muck up the process of getting a job done. So doing things together actually requires letting go of time and expectations, releasing whatever need we might have to have done it in a particular way. And well, in other words, doing things together requires a bit of personal sacrifice. And doing things together, if we're honest, might not be all that attractive all the time. So here we are, a faith community that is committed to being inclusive, with a covenant to learn from one another and to embrace our differences with curiosity and respect. And shoot, sometimes we just want to say, Ma, do I have to? Do we really have to do it together? Well, you know what Ma's answer usually is, right? I bet you can hear it. Truth be told, building beloved community, embracing pluralism, just does not play well with efficiency and expediency. Beloved community simply doesn't compute the language of individualism or speed. Beloved community takes time, messy time. It's not so simple as just sitting in a room with people who might think differently. Embracing pluralism means letting go of doing and being in a particular way in favor of trying out new ideas and experiences with curiosity. We have to open our hands, our minds, and let go of our way. Mick Cooper, who's a prolific author and a professor of counseling psychology at a university in the UK, has said this: pluralism isn't easy. It's a constant willingness to self-challenge and to look at where we might be wrong or limited, even with regard to pluralism itself. It requires a capacity to detach ourselves from our agendas, our beliefs, our commitments, and to recognize that there may be other ways. And it also requires us to recognize that we can never wholly achieve that, unquote. Pluralism is a tall order. We're just not that good at challenging ourselves to look at where we might be wrong. The dangerous and extreme polarization in our world today exists because of our inability to welcome and embrace difference. And don't you wonder why that is? Wonder why we're so driven to control things and to batten down the hatches to those things that might challenge or expand us? Don't you wonder why difference can be so threatening? Do you know that beautiful song from the musical South Pacific, "You've Got to Be Carefully Taught"? It's been running through my head. I'm going to share the lyrics because in their simplicity, they're so very poignant. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed into your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught before it's too late, before you're 6 or 7 or 8. You've got to be taught to hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught. We've been taught this: separatism, isolation. That's why I asked Nick to read Sarah Stewart's version of the story of white supremacy, because it tells, although in a very abridged fashion, of the way in which many of us were taught that it's better if we separate into groups of like kinds, to cling to our own ways, to put up walls, to create divisions. And while we've learned to do this, we do not need to do this. For the most part, it's been centuries and centuries since humans lived in isolated tribes. Few people remain in the place where they were born for their whole lives. Globalization and the ease of travel, among many other influences, have mixed us all up, which calls on us, compels us to recognize that we are all kin and that we do better when we work together, when we live together, when we learn from one another. And yet, our white supremacy culture that we've been taught, many of us have been taught, resists that kind of an interdependent world. And that culture has also taught us to be certifiably, pathologically, task and productivity oriented, while also demanding that we be slaves to the clock. The message is constantly do it right and do it fast. I clicked on a little message on my browser this morning that had a little, you've got a message, and it was about something to make things more productive. I went, ugh, no. It's always telling us, do it right, do it on time, be more productive. What would Mom say or do about this? And when I say Mom, Canadian as I might be, I'm not talking about the Queen Mom. I mean that mom that embodies the universal kind of mothering energy that can exist in all people, of all genders, in all places, that kind of compassionate love that would leave no child behind, that would want to ensure that each person is seen and heard and appreciated, and that would want everyone to thrive. I mean that universal kind of mothering energy that would stop in the middle of a task to spend time to reconcile a disagreement, that would ask us to simply be present in the moment, that would let go of all time pressures in favor of the well-being of everyone, the kind of energy that would lay down any project to read a story or dry a tear or listen to someone's dreams. I mean that kind of universal mothering energy that feels the beating of each heart, that knows we're stronger when our hearts beat as one, that can look into our eyes and remind us that I am you and you are me, and that we're better together. The mom I'm talking about would have us look at the expansiveness that opens up when we do things together, taking into account multiple points of view. When we do things together, there are so many possibilities that can come into being, a new world, really. I mean the kind of mom who would be the quintessential you, who would teach us that our faith requires us to see the other person, to see the other side. Like Ibu Patel has said, to see the other side, to defend other people, not despite your tradition, but because of it, is the heart of pluralism. A mothering, nurturing energy that would remind us that existing in diversity, willingly, in spite of our challenges, is what our faith is all about. That's the kind of mom we need today, right? And I believe that mom is available to us all the time if we would just slow down and pay attention and listen. You know, the second half of that proverb says, if you want to go far, go together. How far? I mean, what's the destination? In some ways, these questions are antithetical to the concept of prioritizing the embrace of an inclusive pluralism. Perhaps we need to stop asking, are we there yet? In favor of simply enjoying the experience of being together. I know it can all seem like this is so far away and unachievable, something like the Emerald City. But let's say that the ultimate destination is the beloved community, and it's out there somewhere, right? I know it exists. I expect you've seen it as well as I have, you know, in passing moments, in surprising interactions, in the kind words and deeds of others. But I think we can all agree that it shows up far too infrequently. And beloved community can't come into being unless we do it together. All of us. In a couple of weeks, I'll be talking about the gifts of pluralism. That is what to expect when we get there. For now, I just want to say that going together going slow, with hearts open to being transformed. Well, it could be that if we could do that, that the destination will come to us. It may not be so far as we imagine. It could just be that it exists within us and within our human capacity to love one another. I don't know about you, but the possibility of slowing down, of letting go, of living with curiosity instead of fear is incredibly attractive. My heartbeat slows down when I imagine it. My hands soften. I can breathe easier. To fully embrace pluralism is to relax into a myriad of possibilities, going slowly so we can go far together. May it be so. Amen.
One way that UUCW helps address human needs and advance social justice in our community is through our Split the Plate program. Each month, we give half of all undesignated offerings to a local nonprofit to help us live our Unitarian Universalist values and serve our community. Our Split the Plate partner for May is Strive 365. By age 18, practically every child has experienced trauma. Trauma is verbal, emotional, sexual, or physical stress and can take place anywhere, at home, at school, in the neighborhood, and in any relationship. This is where Strive 365 comes in. Their mission is to equip youth with a resilient mindset through trauma-informed programming in education, athletics, and activities. To do this, they offer local youth-serving organizations a variety of customizable programs following a train-the-trainer model. For example, in athletics, Strive 365 equipped coaches with a general awareness of how stress contributes to mental health. Coaches are given concrete strategies that they can share with their athletes to facilitate resilience in the midst of a crisis. The Strive 365 program provides mentors, volunteers, and staff who are grounded in social-emotional learning. This helps students learn skills to navigate life's challenges, relationships, and managing their well-being, forming foundations for lifelong health. You can help Strive 365 today in a few minutes, or you can go to UCW's website's Donate tab and select Split the Plate from the menu. So text or mail your donation today using the information found here. Today, I thank you for your generosity to Strive 365. We will now gratefully receive your offering.
Please join me in the words of dedication found in your order of service and on the screen. To the work of this community, which is to ground ourselves in love and joy and to act for inclusion and justice, we dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings. And before we depart, let's please sing again. You'll find the words to We Are One printed in this order of service. You'll likely be familiar with the tune. Ruben will introduce it a little bit. You'll know what's coming. And then we'll sing it through twice. You're invited to stand as you're willing and or able.
We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the world. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the world. And we pray peace and harmony will one day be restored. And they'll know we are united by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know we are united by our love. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the world. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the world. And we pray peace and harmony will one day be restored. And they'll know we are united by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know we are united by our love.
Please remain standing for our benediction. This wonderful time together, listening, learning, sharing, singing, is coming to an end. So take a moment to breathe in the love and support you find here, and a moment to breathe out the love and support that you offer to others. Feel our hearts beating as one. Our closing words are from Israel Bufardi, Universal Rhythm. My friends, when you go from here, know that our hearts are always in a holy place, for we are always connected to one another. Know that deep down our hearts beat in one universal rhythm, and may we each find the sacred space to hear it. I invite you to return to your seats to enjoy Ruben's postlude.